let's just jump right into it and let's talk about the first big piece of news this week. YouTube and Activision-Blizzard announced a multi-year, multi-esports partnership that includes the Call of Duty League, Overwatch League, and Hearthstone esports, and also is a multi-year agreement about using Google's cloud infrastructure, which is actually, that's the agreement, and the streaming rights are kind of secondary, but as Blizzard esports fans, I think we all gravitated towards the Overwatch League on YouTube bit.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, did either of you watch the Call of Duty League last week at all?
Yeah. I watched a little bit of it.
Watched a little bit too.
Hours.
It was in Minnesota. It was at the Armory. Like, I went to college like 4 blocks away from where the Armory was. Minnesota actually has a team, whereas Overwatch League does not. They took the teams out ice fishing, which is pretty cool.
Really?
Go to get a Juicy Lucy at Matt's bar. It was like great. Like, it was, oh man, it was so nostalgic. So here's the thing. I haven't watched Call of Duty ever. In fact, I'm very anti Call of Duty from all my Halo years. So, but I tuned into an esports I had never watched and a game I never played outside. I played some of the Battle Royale portion of it, just because Minnesota had a team. So I am your anecdotal evidence that
it works.
It works. And I'm a Minnesota Rocker fan. And
which team is Gary V associated with?
Minnesota Rocker. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which was also really cool.
Who's operating that team? Like esports wise?
It's a like the endemic esports.
Yeah.
I don't know who the endemic one is. Okay. I'm pretty sure it's a venture capitalist firm though. That's
interesting
at the forefront of it.
Interesting.
So, by the way, Juicy Lucy is a cheeseburger with the cheeseburger cooked inside. That's not some innuendo or whatever. It's not like the name of it.
Cooked inside, like what? A bun?
So you cook the patty. You put the cheese inside the patty.
Oh,
it's life-changing.
Huh. Okay. I'm sure. I mean, it doesn't sound bad. It's just like
it's actually. So I used to, when I was in Denver, they used to have $59 round trip flights from Denver to Minneapolis, St. Paul. And when I got really homesick, I would go there for a day, get a Juicy Lucy, and meet one of my cousins at the Nook that's right by the airport, and then go back 3 hours later.
Huh.
It's that good. Anyways.
Hot pocket version of
Call of Duty League kind of they debuted the YouTube partnership with Call of Duty League. It was really interesting. I think the really interesting thing for me personally was the fact that the streaming bandwidth cap is significantly higher for Call of Duty or for YouTube than Twitch, or even, as far as I know, Mixer, at least for partnered Mixer streamers. Mixer streamers have a cap at 10K. Twitch has a cap at 6.5K, though there's some ambiguity in that and some, like, I don't know, gray area in that. But like for most people, it's 6.5K. MLG, I believe, was higher.
Yeah, that was the draw. It was,
but I don't
Twitch
know that
brings
a specific number.
Yeah, Twitch brings the most people, then like YouTube like gives you the functionality with a little bit of higher bitrate, and then MLG, like you max bitrate, it looks beautiful.
But I also thought MLG was a little bit ahead. That's what was the only reason why I didn't watch MLG, because when I wanted to watch with people, I kind of wanted to be on the same time frame, so I went to Twitch, but I would have preferred going to MLG.
That's what I constantly hear, like in like weird podcasts where people are talking about streaming rights and like the weird like kind of streaming war that's going on. Is the big draw off of Twitch is like the back end. It doesn't give you the same bit rate.
Like, I would love to see a 1440p 60 Overwatch League stream. That would be nuts. But the bit rate is higher. They were streaming Call of Duty League at 25 megabits per second, or 25,000 kilobits per second. So 4 times higher than Twitch, 2.5 times higher than Mixer, which was really great, really refreshing. obviously YouTube has much, or I don't want to say obviously, but YouTube definitely has much better transcoding algorithms. So being able to watch at a downgraded bitrate is a lot more of a smooth experience on YouTube than on Twitch. So technology wise, I'm a big fan, but the big concern obviously is that Twitch is kind of the home of gaming and esports, and less so this year than any other year. You've got Shroud and Ninja gone. You've got Courage JD going over to YouTube gaming. You've got streamers like Darkness429 and Disguised Toast going to Facebook gaming. So there's this constant repositioning happening going on with it was who was it? So Heroes of the Dorm for Blizzard, they went to Facebook gaming, at least for some of it. The Smite League went to Mixer. Both have, I would say both experiments were largely a failure. I believe the Smite Pro League is still going on Mixer, but that tells you how much I know.
Yeah, it's that whole esports scene is like kind of small, kind of niche. It does well for itself, but I don't really see it kind of like exploding anytime soon. You know, it did okay. If Mixer wanted to get into it, you know, I'm sure it's doing fine. But to John's point, like, so that's how good it's doing.
Anyways, this is we're kind of building up to why this is significant here, in the sense that it's pretty rare for an esport to go off of platform. Overwatch League was kind of unique in the sense that they had a Twitch/MLG deal, right? And they were still able to stream Overwatch League on MLG. Overwatch League was also very unique in the sense that you had the command center, which I don't know. Do any other esports on Twitch have something like the command center?
League has the pro viewer. Yeah. Right.
League has the pro viewer. Got it.
I think CSGO in Select with Select TOs has something similar, but there again, they have like Go TV that's really not on Twitch.
Yeah. So So I think a lot of people are a little bit worried about losing that. Obviously, Command Center was a really great way to view Overwatch League. The Overwatch League has since said that they're working on and looking at ways to integrate those types of perks, including like skins and all that kind of stuff, into YouTube gaming, but there wasn't anything official from there. But what is interesting, and I wanted to talk to you about, Yiska, is that at first glance, your knee-jerk reaction, I'm sorry, I'm throwing you under the bus here, was panic.
No, that's fine.
You panicked a little bit.
Okay, so Captain Bad First Take. It's just baked into my subconscious DNA. To just assume the worst and then work from there, right? My assumption was just like going from personal streams, like certain I can't really recall any names of streamer platforms, but like with Mixer, I suppose, like people go into Mixer, Shroud having like a fraction, Ninja having a fraction of their viewership. I didn't quite know what it was for YouTube. Facebook is probably worse even than Mixer.
Totally.
So I just assumed, okay, going off Twitch, you use a lot of.
I think Facebook is better.
Really?
Than Mixer, but the average, just from sheer number of viewers alone, right? So Facebook is so much larger that even though, like as a percentage, so many less people are watching a streamer on Facebook, the numbers are still largely better. And I've heard optimistic. Facebook is here in the Bay Area. I've met with some of the people over there, and I've worked pretty closely with some people on Facebook gaming. Not saying that Mixer isn't great and isn't getting better, especially with Ninja and Shroud going there. But Facebook gaming has this really interesting kind of endemic random discovery algorithm that goes through all of Facebook. So you can literally be watching a video, and all of a sudden, boom, you're on a live
and it just
stream.
be like recommended. Weird.
Yeah.
So,
and anyways, I want to talk about algorithms as part of that as well, just a little bit towards the end of my point. But I was scared that there wouldn't be live viewership, and to a degree, I still believe it's absolutely possible that we are halving our viewership, especially totally. With the loot boxes, or not loot boxes, but the tokens not being available seemingly at the start of the season. I always thought at least around 20-30K of the viewership was around that. I justified that by looking at the amount of viewers that stuck around at the start of the restream and how long they then stayed later on. Maybe that's maybe that would happen to every channel that goes offline after a certain amount of time, because people just fall asleep depending on the viewership demographic. Like, it's of course very late in Europe. Be that as it may, I looked at the League of Legends stats for all their national leagues, and YouTube was doing surprisingly well, especially for Worlds. So Worlds, it wasn't quite 50-50, but it wasn't that far off in terms of viewership distribution, right? So okay, let's assume that for one thing, what we absolutely know is the interaction with Twitch streamers is like, you put that stuff on YouTube and then it cross-pollinates, or rather, like, the YouTube channel then feeds into the live audience, right? So that we know that there's a connection. Like, I'm pretty sure the vast majority of Twitch users are YouTube users as well. There might not be YouTube stream viewers. That might have to change.
Sure.
But of course, selfishly, I have to say, for me as a content creator, it seems very possible. I already saw comments about that with CDL, that algorithms will pick up on who watches Overwatch League Live or CDL Live. And then in the recommended tab that you have on the side of your video player, recommends content, esports content that stands in connection with it. Now, of course, Technical Crouch is one. Maybe I'll look into...
Recommend us, Overwatch League. Let's go. Sorry.
So there's an opportunity that it's in general, I think we need to a more informed audience is a more involved audience. So, like, if people consume more third-party content or just shoulder content from the league, that just entrenches them more into the scene, is my thinking. I think it will be more important to have that shoulder content next season when it's so wildly all over the place in terms of schedule because of the different time zones, even though we'll have to see how that works out with the complications in China at the moment. We'll see what the solution there is. But generally, I hope we can have a solid increase. I absolutely expect it to go like 200K somewhere at the start of the first day, maybe tops. Then we're going down, and I wouldn't be surprised that if by week 2 we were at 40, 45, 50K.
Yeah, totally. I think that's very reasonable numbers. Yep. I'm not even shooting for 200. I'd be happy with like 100 on day one. Because again, like, you're getting a lot of people who don't really keep up on the off-season news cycle. They're like, oh, Overwatch League is starting. Again, I think they're doing a pretty lackadaisical job in promoting the season start. It's a lot of just retweeting old content. They're really not drawing eyes. So the numbers are probably going to be pretty slim early. And again, I think this is a good idea in the long run. One point that I will bring up is the fact that I do think that streamers in general from Twitch might come over to kind of get ahead of the game, to try and build up a YouTube streaming audience, to kind of chase the coattails of the Overwatch League in general. Again, get put into that recommended algorithm. And with that algorithm, I think that we might see a boost from team content with the league's rights now being solely with YouTube, and that recommended kind of algorithm pushing more content out there. I think teams could open up a big growth. It's almost like a fertilizer to help these teams see that, like, they should be making content on YouTube. They make more of it. It gets recommended. It's this positive kind of feedback loop where they really grow their YouTubes and outgrow, they grow their reach. I wouldn't say open up a monetization stream, because there again, like, YouTube really isn't I don't know if it's making a ton of people money anymore, but it definitely, it's what, the most used app in the world. I'd imagine it's one of the most, if not the most.
Definitely the most popular video platform, however you want to use that.
So it's so important for these teams to like have a platform there, to have unique content. Like, I want to say in the inaugural season, Florida Mayhem had their, docu series where they followed the team around and played highlight clips. That gets more traction. The Houston Outlaws doing funny banter, that gets more traction. All of this gets more traction because it's on YouTube. You're already there. You use it in your day-to-day life. It's going to recommend you that content. It's going to get more exposure. But on top of that, we also need YouTube gaming streams to be more discoverable as well. I think that's a big criticism of the platform right now, is that you can't really find it anywhere. You kind of have to dig for it a little bit. So that kind of has to be looked at a little bit more, kind of retooled.
That's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
So like I went to try, and I basically watched two things on YouTube. I try to keep up on politics because I have a lot of like this stuff going on with impeachment and everything else. Don't worry, we're not going there. And then the other thing I try to watch too is gaming streams. You can go to gaming.youtube.com, and there's kind of a pseudo directory, but it only shows you the most popular games. You can't search by streamer or game. You can't really see if like X streamer is online unless you go to their channel or they're in the recommended part of it. I don't think it's going to be an issue for discoverability for Overwatch League, honestly, because I have a feeling if you go to gaming.youtube.com or live.youtube.com, it'll probably almost always be recommended. Like it'll just be like, that's probably got to be part of the partnership, right? But for the people who are streaming who aren't Overwatch League, I do think that still is an issue. And I do think that, it shouldn't be an issue finding Overwatch League and then finding their streams. But I think everything beyond that, I think, is in CDL and probably Hearthstone esports to a lesser extent. But there still is just like, as I would say, simplistic and maybe a little bit too far back in time as the Twitch discovery tools are, of this, like this really basic of like, you can sort by most popular streamer, you can sort by game, or you can search for streamer, or you can search for game. And there's some discovery tools in there and a place to see everyone you're following and if they're live. But outside of, that, Twitch is largely like very basic and simplistic, and YouTube doesn't quite have that figured out yet.
Yeah.
And
I will also say, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I will also say, like, I understand when people say, Sip said in chat that they don't understand Twitch chat culture. I will say though that there is a definitely recognizable psychological phenomena, especially in live streams, of the particular range of emotes being tweeted at any given time. So if someone has a sick play and the PogChamp comes in channel, that seems to, and I notice it in myself, seems to activate the circuitry that thinks like, okay, we're sharing like an amazing moment with everyone. It's not much different, or it is similar, I would say, to sitting in the stadium and a goal happens or whatever, and the crowd roars in a sense.
It's a Zoomer stadium, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a virtual stadium where it's not on the letters, but on the emoticons that activates that.
And the emotion.
And that's also why, that's also why every highlight YouTube channel, or very many, will overlay the Twitch chat over the gameplay action, even if it's not on the stream, because it enhances. It's like a live react of thousands of people or active participants to that particular moment in time, and it seems to enhance the experience. I think YouTube has a lot to do there. I don't think, like, the cool part about Twitch is that it feels so customized. Like you can identify with certain streamers, you subscribe to them, you have their emotes, and then using their particular, that's why PogChamp has nth iterations of all kinds of different streamers, but the general notion or the emoticon needs to express that facial feature and the emotion behind it, and as long as that is the case, the rest is just like identity behind it. So
sure,
but the general emotion that is shared is the same, and I think to that degree, honestly, this is worth a dissertation. Honestly,
it is.
I think if Twitch, just like thinking long term, if Twitch was to lose out in the streaming game battle, I would wager it is because also others like got up to speed on that particular aspect, because it's seen such a Twitch-esque invention. It's like at the most basic form, it's like basically like someone reading like what's the Egyptian letterings called in the English?
Hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics, just sitting there and just going like having a certain emotion to pictures. It's weird, but
pictures
it works.
Of corn. Wow, a hippopotamus. Sweet. I don't know what that means, but awesome.
Yeah,
alligator.
Yeah, we were. Who was it? Was it you, Yiska, that we were talking about? How do I even sub this? Was it you, me, and Dream? We're like, how do we? What's it like? You have subscribe. You have join, which is now subscribe. Mm-hmm. Subscribe is follow for Twitch. So you're trying to like figure that out. They have $500 stickers to send. Yeah. If you want. Yeah, I think, and I think the overall just kind of like where Twitch wins. Twitch only wins in how in the creators it's aggregated and the community it's created around. It's I would say just the website culture in general and the culture and the emotes. Yep. Take those out of it. And I was saying it like if nobody was on any platform and everyone's like, day one, where are we going? Twitch would be not first or second, in my opinion. I think YouTube Gaming and Mixer are both better platforms than Twitch. I think Facebook Gaming and Twitch, you could probably make some arguments back and forth, but it's I don't know. I if it was gonna go anywhere, I'm glad it's here. I'm like I can't think of anywhere else I would rather.
The other two, I'd be much more cynical.
Yep, Facebook and Mixer, I would be like, well, it was a good run. Project A is right around the corner.
Not a good look.
Should be fine, I suppose. But it's it's going to be interesting to watch and see. We're definitely going to be kind of watching it closely. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I think a lot of people have already discussed it, and I think overall this is probably a positive deal. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how people consume their Overwatch League now that they have a much more capable VOD viewer.
Yes.
Right? I think it also makes it a lot easier to go. Like a big part of Overwatch League and a big part of what kind of sucked about Overwatch League is if you wanted to go back and watch the VODs, you either had to go through the Overwatch League website or you could try to go through that horrible VOD organization that's Twitch. And
to be fair, they had them on their YouTube channel, but you were just not tied into it, or they had them. And usually they were a bit later on. Yeah, they took some time, and they were like trans codes of the Twitch stream, I think, so that the quality wasn't great. Mm-hmm. That's true.
So yeah, I'm optimistic about it. I'm excited about it.
Should be.
It wasn't
should
like
be all right.
Overwatch League was breaking any. Well, actually, they were technically breaking viewership records, but we won't go into that.
Well,
but
okay, and also keep in mind, like I'm slowly waking up or to the realization we're honestly creating something that doesn't fit into our normal notion of esports.
Yes.
We have an entirely different audience with different preferences, with different demographics. Also, I would assume in terms of gender, we are simply like the lessons of esports apply to a degree, I think, but we are still very different And to learn that is going to be challenging for content creators, for the league itself. Like I think esports experience only brings you so far in terms of where the league is trying to develop itself. Mm-hmm. I think this esport could have worked endemically and promoting it endemically. That's not where we're going, and it's an interesting experiment now. Mm-hmm. But YouTube could therefore fit into that entire ecosphere more
better home.
Than our like already slightly like bent from the norm Twitch culture. Yep. So I think in general just it's very on brand. It fits the brand.
That's a good way to put it.
That's a great
way to put it.
Let's cap it on that then. That's a great place to end it. Best of luck. We'll find out in a couple of weeks if it ends
even that I wouldn't. I like.
No, we will be able to make our assumptions and know it all in a couple of weeks. First 2 days is all I need.
All right, I'll tell you though, John. If the Overwatch League has like 15K viewers, I'll sit here. I told you the minute
you can't back out now. You already flip flopped once.